And in fact, with that, we're going to jump over to Mark's player card right now just so we can take a quick look at his team and him on stage right now as he gets set up. You can see him rocking a hat. He has the Cresselia, Landorus, Thundurus, Charizard, Sylveon, and Heatran. So we see that Cresselia here, and it's going to be tough. That's quite the castle, as I've been calling it throughout this weekend. Definitely a tough Pokemon to break through. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you are cheering for Japan to get that clean sweep, if you are cheering for Koki Honda, make some noise in-house and use the hashtag PlayPokemon. I personally love Koki's team. Let's throw it over to his player card right now to see what Koki's bringing. Ladies and gentlemen, we see an Aegislash, Zapdos. Zapdos, Kangaskhan, Heatran, Sylveon, and Landorus. It looks like there might be a little bit of discrepancy. We'll see once we jump into the match. But it turns out one of these Pokemon might be wrong. We'll have to find out. But either way, this is going to be a heated battle.
Right, and both players kind of showing what their regions are known for right here. You see Koki with the Heatran, Aegislash, Zapdos, Sylveon, Kangaskhan, Landorus, Therian. Zapdos is actually a very popular Pokemon out in Japan. It's always been very popular. Not so much out in the western regions or even in Europe or other regions at all. Zapdos provides a lot of support for a team. It provides a lot of speed support. It provides a lot of offensive power with that very powerful same type attack boosted Thunderbolts. On Mark McQuillan's side, it's a pretty standard team too. We see Charizard, Cresselia, and of course I think Charizard's new favorite partner in the sun is definitely going to be Heatran.
Yeah.
I believe earlier when we were going through the Pokemon.com website, that Cresselia does have Skill Swap, and that's going to be an interesting matchup here because Heatran is a Pokemon well known for its resistances. It's very hard to hit it super effectively. It's only weak to water. It's weak to ground and fighting. But if it gets that Levitate ability, it becomes so much more difficult to knock it out, especially in the sunlight, which Charizard obviously brings.
Absolutely. And something that we've seen obviously in the last match was Heatran taking advantage of that Flash Fire ability because Fire type is so prominent in this meta. It's such a good offensive type. But I think we are ready to jump into the match, onto the main stage to see our players as they get ready to jump into this battle. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise because we are going to be seeing our senior world champ right now. He's playing right now. One of them's the champ. We don't know which one. One of them's the runner-up. We're going to find out during this match.
Yeah, and going back to Mark's team, it is actually a Machamp on that team, which is a Pokemon that, I'm excited to see in the finals.
Wait a minute. There's a Machamp on a team.
There is a Machamp here, and Machamp, as I went over earlier with Scott, Machamp provides a lot of support in this spread move heavy metagame, in my opinion. Sylveon's popular, as we see in Koki's side. Machamp with that wide yard is going to prevent Sylveon from being able to go for those powerful Hyper Voices. Heatran is going to be prevented from going for those powerful Heat Waves, although some Heatrans are currently switching to, single target flamethrower attacks.
Yep.
And of course, Landorus is pretty much the king of
rock sliding.
King of rock slide.
He wears a scarf all the time.
Yeah, exactly. He looks so fashionable with that scarf, by the way.
He really, really does. I'm a little jealous. Got to pick one up myself. Something really cool to note. Mark M. Does that M stand for Machamp? Question.
We'll have to see. I think Machamp is going to be a very key Pokemon right here. Wide Guard is going to provide so much support for him. Like I said already, Heatran, Sylveon, and Landorus are known to go for those spread type moves, and I think we're going to be seeing a Machamp here.
Without a doubt, and we hear the crowd starting to get fired up. I would really love to see that Machamp hit the field. It's really cool when a unique Pokemon gets to slip through, especially all the way to the World Championship match. We're going to see Koki lead with the Zapdos and the Landorus here. Zapdos, such a bulky Pokemon, honestly, and it has such support in Tailwind and Roost, and then, of course, Mark is going to lead with the Charizard and the Cresselia.
Yeah, and decent lead right here from Mark. We do see the Intimidate go off. Not going to matter too much on Cresselia and Charizard, who are both known to be special attacking Pokemon. Zapdos is going to provide a lot of support here. Can easily set up a Tailwind or go for some offensive firepower onto the Charizard with a Thunderbolt. And of course, Landorus Therian is probably one of Charizard's least favorite Pokemon to see on the field. Carrying such a powerful Rock Slide, being able to do a lot of damage to Charizard off the bat. Mark might want to try to go ahead and go for his own Intimidate, possibly switch in a Landorus Therian if he has it in the back to possibly weaken this Landorus Therian a bit.
Of course, and that leads to a lot of mind games, but we're not going to see that Charizard switch. Instead, we're going to see it Mega Evolve and bring out the sun or the clear skies, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to hit the field. The Zapdos, like you said, I think that it would be really interesting to see Tailwind. That's going to be some crazy speed control, but with the Cresselia there, the Trick Room has to be on your mind a little bit. We're going to see a knockoff go into the crest, doing 40%, knocking off the Mental Herb, which is huge. A Thunderbolt, though, is going to double into that, and the Charizard is going to sit there. All right, firing off a flamethrower in the sun. This could be huge. Is the Zapdos? Oh, the Zapdos holds on, but it gets burned. The 10%. We're going to see the Zapdos munch away on that citrus berry, so it's not going to faint this turn. But oh my goodness, putting it on a timer as Cresselia goes for the Trick Room.
Yeah, and that's a good Trick Room right there, because now Mark knows that his Charizard is going to be moving before Landorus, Therian, and Zapdos next turn. Of course, a big burn right there that's going to slowly chip away at that Zapdos. You know, Zapdos, like I said, has a lot of staying power, but right now with that burn, it's just going to slowly get chipped away. The Citrus Berry definitely paid off right there, and, you know, I'm pretty sure Koki is thinking that his choice in item there was definitely helpful.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Zapdos often carrying Citrus, or I believe a lot of safety goggles running around. But Landorus is going to go ahead and switch out, and Koki's going to switch into the Heatran, predicting a Fire type move, but Mark is smiling. He's going to skill swap the Heatran, get rid of that Flash Fire, giving it Levitate, because he's not planning on using Earthquakes today. No, instead, he wants to set it aflame. Oh my goodness, that's exactly what I was thinking. When you were talking about putting Levitate on it, oh my gosh, goes for the Heat Wave. It's going to connect on both Pokemon, knocking out the Zapdos, and doing a ton of damage to the Heatran. The crowd is going absolutely mad right now.
So I remember now that we're pretty much tripping over my own words right there. I said Heatran with the Levitate is going to be pretty dangerous, but you know, Heatran without Flash Fire is a bit weaker, because Charizard's going to be firing off those very powerful fire type attacks, and we do see Mark go for Heat Wave and Flamethrower just to bypass possible wide guards if there are out there. So a great play right there from Mark, and he is so ahead in this game right now that, you know, Koki has to try to find a way to make a big move. And of course, once you see Kangaskhan hit the field, there's always a possibility.
Of course, and we got to remember the Trick Room is up, so it's going to be tough. Things have to be played right, but if the Kangaskhan is faster, it's going to be moving less, but of course, it does have fake out pressure right now. If it's carrying it, it can really put Mark in a bit of a situation. He looks like he's shaking his head, not too happy with the fact that Kangaskhan tainted, but he's going to go for the Protect with the Charizard. The question is, did Koki target down that slot, considering how much damage? Yes, he did, so Mark making a fantastic call. Cresselia is going to fire off an Ice Beam into the Kangaskhan slot just to get a little bit of chip damage off on it as the Heatran goes for the Flamethrower into the Charizard slot. So that's back-to-back perfect turns for Mark M, the Machamp wielder.
Yeah, right there. Probably wanted to try to get that Landorus on a switch, possibly. That's why he targeted down with an Ice Beam. Of course, Cresselia revealing Skill Swap is going to be a bit dangerous for Kangaskhan to stay in. One thing that I personally love to do is go for those Skill Swaps onto those Parental Bonds and take that Parental Bond away from Kangaskhan, which makes it so powerful.
That sounds like a dangerous time for Koki. So that's where the mind games come in. At this point, does he want to? And you know what? Even if he Skill Swaps that slot, and say Landorus does come in, you're intimidating that Landorus. So it's almost a win-win. But I think picking up the knockout with Ice Beam is going to be a little bit more appreciated. So that might be the route that Mark was really thinking about going.
Right, absolutely. And we do see the switch right here from Kangaskhan back into that Landorus there, and going to go for an Intimidate onto these two special attackers here.
I'm pretty certain I just saw Mark wink at the camera. So we're going to find out if that was a wink of happiness or a wink of, yeah, you know what, I almost called that. We're going to see a Protect, though, from the Heatran. So did Mark double into that slot? Is he playing out of his mind? He went for the Ice Beam into the Landorus switch. Oh my goodness, this is going to do a good amount of damage. It looks like the Assault Vest is really coming through, but can this Heat Wave in the sun pick up the knockout? I'm not quite sure. We're going to have to find out. Oh my goodness, it looks like it's going to just barely hang on. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, unfortunately right there, Koki does decide that Kangaskhan is probably going to be the more important Pokemon in this matchup right here. Mark is playing exceptionally well right now. Koki hasn't really been able to go on the offensive once that Trick Room came up, so, you know, we see that Trick Room from a couple turns ago paying off so well, you know. It's put Mark in such a good position to try to take this game in, you know, pretty much a dominating fashion.
Absolutely, and we're going to see Koki just switch right back out into that Kangaskhan, not ready to let go of Landorus just yet, and we do already know that it's rocking that Assault Vest. Cresselia going to move first because the Trick Room is still up. Going to do a little bit more chip damage to this Kangaskhan, bringing it down a good amount, and then of course a Flamethrower into the Heatran slot is going to pick up that knockout. Oh my goodness, getting rid of that Flash Fire is paying dividends. The Sunlight's going to fade, the Trick Room is going to end, but I think Mark is extremely happy being in this 4-2 situation.
Absolutely, and right now Koki has to be able to pick up a lot of knockouts here with these two Pokemon. You know, Landorus and Kangaskhan, two of the best Pokemon in the format this year. You know, are they going to be able to do it? Are they going to be able to pick up 4 knockouts here? That's going to be a tough question. Landorus, of course, is going to be able to threaten with that Charizard with a powerful Rock Slide if it does carry Rock Slide. Cresselia is pretty heavily weakened, and of course Kangaskhan does have Fake Out support right now.
Absolutely, and it looks like the Charizard is just going to return to Mark right now, especially since the sun's not up. I really like that play, switching in the Landers and intimidating both of these physically offensive Pokemon. Always a good option. One, when the sun isn't on your side, and two, when you want to go ahead and intimidate two physical attackers that can no longer switch out. Kangaskhan is going to pick up the knockout on Cresselia, so it looks like Landers might end up taking a bit of damage if Koki's Landers went on the offensive. The Double Edge, of course, is going to have a bit of recoil. recoil, and the knockoff is going to knock off Landorus' item. As we see, it was the Assault Vest as well.
Yeah, and 2 Assault Vest Landoruses right there,
in the finals.
All right, Assault Vest, probably the better item, and we do see the Machamp.
There's the Machamp! The crowd is going wild right now!
With a shiny Machamp out, Machamp is going to be able to definitely threaten that Kangaskhan with a very powerful Dynamic Punch. And, Machamp itself is a pretty bulky Pokemon, so I don't think Kangaskhan will actually be able to pick up the knockout here in one hit with a Double Edge.
I am so excited that this Machamp is on the field. No, don't you do it. 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 Oh, no. Oh, the Intimidates are paying dividends. This bulky Pokemon is going to take that hit, munch away on its Citrus Berry. I was really excited to see what item it had, considering the Assault Vest was confirmed to be on the Landorus. Let's see what's going to happen for the rest of the turn. More recoil is right there for that Kangaskhan. A Rock Slide is going to come through and connect on both of Mark's Pokemon. The question is this a flinch kind of day? We're going to find out right now. Not very effective. Landorus flinches, but Machamp gets a Dynamic Punch off, ladies and gentlemen, and the Mega Kangaskhan is going to drop to that Machamp. That's a no-guard Dynamic Punch, a move that normally has 50% accuracy, but thanks to that ability, never gonna miss.
Right, and this is kind of reminiscent to a couple years ago when Machamp was in the senior final championships, and Machamp played a pretty big role on that team too. And you see here Machamp taking the big knockout on Kangaskhan, as we see Landorus gonna go for a Rock Slide here.
Gonna go for a Rock Slide, last-ditch effort for Koki to kind of just get a few flinches off, but Landorus is gonna connect with the superpower despite being resisted. Game 1 goes to Mark. Machamp, McQuillan, oh my goodness, and a crit to boot, ladies and gentlemen. That was a fantastic match. Oh my goodness, momentum just could not change into Koki's favor.
Right, I feel like Mark there was actually in the driver's seat the entire game because of, that clutch Trick Room that came up turn 1, right?
Oh,
and
goodness.
One thing that Koki's going to have to do, definitely has to try to prevent Cresselia from being able to set up that Trick Room. We see the Mentaler, but that item's not going to play too much of a role here because, Koki has absolutely no Taunters on his team. So one thing that might happen is Aegislash might have to make an appearance because, you have to be able to hit that Cresselia for a lot of damage and be able to pick up the knockout, Go for a knockoff on Landers, go for a Shadow Ball on the Aegislash, and that, quite frankly, is probably your best bet at being able to prevent that Trick Room from getting set up. However, the issue with that is going to be that Charizard is out on the field to threaten that Aegislash, so tough position for Koki to try to prevent that Trick Room from coming up, and it's going to be difficult for Koki to try to take advantage of that.
The question becomes if Mark is willing to sacrifice his Charizard, if he's willing to let it get knocked out in order to get that Trick Room up with Cresselia. Because like you said, it's obviously a huge threat. If Koki does decide to lead with the Aegislash, it'll threaten it an insane amount, but Charizard could also get targeted if with that Landorus Aegislash lead. Could go for a Rock Slide, and that could be the end of Charizard if Charizard decides to go on the offensive. Unfortunately for Koki, momentum is definitely in Mark's favor, even going into Game 2, because he does have that first game under his belt, a little bit of a pillow, little safety net for him. So if he does want to take those risks and then readjust in Game 3, that's fine, but honestly, I'm sure he'd love to just go 2-0 and walk away as the world champion
right.
Seniors Division.
And, one thing about that last game is that, Mark didn't have to reveal his 4th Pokemon, so Koki doesn't really know, what Mark's 4th Pokemon is, and that's going to be, kind of big to what Koki does to adjust. What was that last Pokemon that was a part of Mark's key strategy right there to win? It was probably some sort of Trick Room Sweeper, but at the same time, that's going to be hard for you to be able to tell.
The crowd is already getting fired up as we're jumping into this match. I hear them. You guys got to be able to hear them from these mics. It's insane. We see Koki lead with the Kangaskhan and the Zapdos as Mark decides to lead with the Cresselia and the Landorus.
And that's going to be a huge Intimidate right there on that Kangaskhan. Like I said, Kangaskhan at one stage of reduced attack, that's not going to be hitting quite as hard. We saw that Double Edge on that Machamp, before in Game 1. That didn't do too much damage at all. And right now, well, the best way to prevent Trick Room from getting set up is probably going to have to be, having it flinch, Cresselia flinching, right? Kangaskhan can provide fake out support. That's going to slowly chip away at Cresselia. It's still a little bit of damage here and there, but the important thing is definitely to get some Rock Slide flinches or just even knock out Cresselia.
Yeah, that's got to be Koki's number one concern, because especially considering his team is running a Tailwind Zapdos, you know that he does rely on being fast, so I'm sure his other Pokemon are trained to be pretty fast. So going under Trick Room, it's going to be really tough for him. He's already up against the wall with the -1 Kangaskhan. He can't... If Mark did not lead with that Landers, perhaps he could have just doubled into the Cresselia slot, just skip Fake Out altogether and go right away for some really heavy hits. But because of that -1, I don't think it'll be able to pick up a knockout in any universe. Of course, there's a critical hit universe that resides just beyond the Rip Zone. But we're going to see a Fake Out from Kangaskhan come through, and it's going to target down the Landers. So is Mark just going to go for that first turn Trick Room yet again? We're going to find out in just a couple more moves. A hidden power, though, into the Landers. Is this hidden power ice, and how much is it going to do? It's going to do a good amount of damage to that assault vest, really showing. Landers flinches, of course, and the Trick Room goes up.
And
oh my goodness.
That is definitely not something Koki wants to see, but smart play right there from Kangaskhan to go for that fake out on that Landers. The game before, we already saw that it was the Assault Vest. I'm pretty sure Koki knew coming in this battle that it was the Assault Vest because of the information that was on Pokemon.com. And, the thing with Assault Vest, you can't protect. A lot of Landers do not carry protect. They carry the Choice Band variant, the Choice Scarf variant, the Assault Vest variant. That's a really good target for a fake out because you can't protect out of it. And, pretty much took a lot of damage, but at the same time, Trick Room's up, and I think board position still kind of favors the Mark side.
Mark. Yeah, I definitely agree. I agree with him, especially leading with Landers instead of Charizard. We see the skill swap from the Kangaskhan. No more parental bonds. This child and mother are getting separated just for a little while until the Kangaskhan decides to go back to his trainer. The crowd is going wild for that. We're going to see a Rock Slide connect on both of Koki's Pokemon. Let's see just how much damage it does. Zapdos is going to drop to below 50%, which means it's going to munch away on that Citrus Berry. The question is, will there be any flinches? Are we living in Flintstown? Oh my gosh! We see the Zapdos flinch, and the Kangaskhan goes for a double edge at -1. It will still pick up the knockout on Landorus, but there's no parental bond, even though he didn't need that second hit. I still feel like Mark's in a pretty good situation with Trick Room being up.
Yeah, one thing to note, Cresselia now has that parental bond ability, and that's going to be a bit scary because Ice Beam's going to be hitting twice on, Landorus or Zapdos. That's going to be doing a lot of damage.
The crowd! Oh my goodness! I'm sorry, Dwee, the crowd cut you off. Keep going.
Did you ever think that you'd see a parental bond Cresselia and a Machamp in the senior division final championships here?
I don't think that ever crossed my mind once. And in fact, that Kangaskhan does not like not having its parental bond ability, so it is going to get withdrawn by Koki. And Sylveon is going to come in as a dynamic punch goes onto the Zapdos, so perhaps predicting that to switch out, but it still does a good amount of damage. And of course, if the Cresselia, I see Mark smile to the camera, he went for the Ice Beam, as he did go for the Ice Beam over into, let's see if he targeted down this, targeted down the Sylveon slot. So parental bond going to make it do a little bit more. Is there going to be? Nope, there's no freeze, although having double chance to do so. Zapdos is going to hit itself in confusion over that dynamic punch. That's one confused bird.
One of the issues with Machamp out on the field is dynamic punch, and that's going to start confusing things while doing a lot of damage. I mean, that dynamic punch did a lot of damage to that Zapdos, in my opinion, and now it is confused. It has to switch out. That's going to open up some opportunities right here for Mark to go on the offensive.
For a second, I thought maybe that Machamp was holding a choice band on how much that did, but we've already confirmed the Citrus Berry. We're going to see Dynamic Punch into that same slot. Ladies and gentlemen, will it pick up the knockout? It picks up the knockout. It's a crit. That is a critical hit on an incoming Mega Kangaskhan. Lost its parental bond and now lost its will to fight. And there we go, a skill swap. Stuttering over my words, getting rid of Pixelate. That Sylveon, the Hyper Voice, it does have parental bond, so it's going to hit twice, but honestly, Machamp can take those all day, ladies and gentlemen. This is one insane final. Mark is, oh my goodness, ear-to-ear grins, as I think he should be.
Yeah, and that was a huge skill swap. Skill swap playing such a huge role in this match right now. That skill swap took away the Pixelate. That made Hyper Voice just a normal type attack. Machamp would have probably gotten knocked out from that, but Machamp taking normal type of spread damage that's not even boosted by the same type attack bonus. Yeah, I took that like a champion.
It really did take that like a champion, and of course now I believe Trick Room is still up, so this Machamp can still wreak a little bit of havoc with all 4 of his arms on this field. Oh my goodness, dude, how awesome is it that we're seeing a Machamp?
I think it's pretty awesome. I mean, right now, Mark's in the driver's seat. What happens if Cresselia's skill swaps Pixelate onto Machamp? Now I think Mark can just go ahead and skill swap things away. Take away Heat Ran's Flash Fire just in case he has Charizard in the back.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say, I don't know if he has the Charizard in the back, but I believe the next skill swap target is the Heatran.
But of course, the Dynamic Punch.
Dynamic Punch is just going to punch this Heatran right in the dome. Is it going to pick up the knockout? It picks up another knockout, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing Koki has left is 1 point in the back, and the Sylveon is going to take another Ice Beam right now. It's going to be a double Ice Beam. We can still see a freeze on this. Oh, no, we don't, because the parental bond is gone, of course, so there's not double chance. Another normalized Hyper Voice, not normalized the ability, but it's normal type, no longer getting Pixelate, not having that boost and changing its typing. I am completely floored by Mark's play today. This is fantastic. The Twisted Dimensions do return to normal.
And Trick Room, expires. That's going to bring in Zapdos. Zapdos is going to be kind of a speed Pokemon, but, at the same time, I think the damage has already been done. Sylveon, without Pixelate, it's just going to be locked into using Hyper Voice as the normal type move instead of the powerful Fairy type move that I went off about all weekend, as we see the wide guard from Machamp here.
At this point, Machamp is fighting for his friends, just going for a wide guard, not wanting Hyper Voice to even hit anyone at all. And wide guard's going to protect Cresselia and Machamp. A Trick Room is going to get set up yet again, ladies and gentlemen. An anti-player might have just gone straight for the Ice Beam, but I think Mark played so well going for that Trick Room right there.
And Sylveon again locked into that Hyper Voice. Wide guard's been revealed, so if Mark can get rid of that Zapdos, that's going to be it. Machamp can continue to just go for the wide guard. I think Ice Beam might do a good amount of damage,
but match was forfeited. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello and congratulate, applaud, give a huge hand to your new Seniors Division World Champion, Mark McQuillan from Great Britain.
Wow.
Woo! Machamp! I hear a faint Machamp chant in the crowd, like a Machamp, Machamp. I hear that.
They're saying it to the new Senior Division Machampion.
Dwee, you can't do this to me.
I did it.
I'm going to clap for that one. You are the Machampion, Mark Machampion McQuillan. Oh my goodness, that was one of the most beautiful matches. I feel like we had such a great honor to even cast over that match.
I know, and Mark played such an excellent series, you know. I don't think he played that match poorly at all. You know, Koki played well too, but, you know, Mark was just a couple steps ahead of him in every single turn. I mean, once Trick Room came up in game 1, once Trick Room came up in game 2, Mark was in the driver's seat. You know, Machamp came in, started dynamic punching things. A lot of offensive pressure on Mark's side, and that's one of the things about Trick Room. You know, you can kind of build your Pokemon to be a bit more bulky and still be able to hit like a truck. You know, you invest in bulk and power at the same time while controlling speed. So that's one of the benefits of Trick Room, really, and we see Trick Room take a championship here in the Senior Division.
Welcome back, Pokemon fans. I am joined by your new Senior Division. You can already hear the crowd. You hear that?
Yeah.
That's for you, man. That's for you. Senior Division World Champion, Mark Machampion McQuillan, as I'm forever going to reference you as Machampion. So, really quick, question on everyone's mind. Not why, because Machamp's not an incredible Pokemon, but what made you bring Machamp to the World Championships?
Well, like, the thing about Machamp is, like, you can't really switch on it unless you've got a Ghost type, because if you do, you're gonna get confused.
Yep.
And that's well, you saw in the finals there. Like, I thought if the what was it?
I think it was the Zapdos, right?
If the Zapdos stayed in, it would be confused, and it's like could hit itself. And if it switched, it would either be to Kang or Heatran, and it would they would both die to it.
Yep,
so.
that was a beautiful maneuver. And then Zapdos ended up hitting itself.
Yeah.
So it was a win. It was a win-win for you, definitely. Really quick, last year you were the runners-up, correct?
Yeah.
How long have you been playing Pokemon competitively?
Competitively since 2011 I've been playing.
2011. And how many more years, if you have any more, do you have in the Seniors Division?
No, next year's my first Masters year. So.
So you got to clutch out your World Championship title. Can you make a little bit of noise in house? Last year, pulling through, stopping the sweep from Japan.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. Tell me a little bit about your experience last year when you were the runner-up.
Well, I kind of got destroyed.
You got destroyed in the match?
Yeah. And it was kind of bad, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're so bad." It's so bad.
But now to all those people, you can ask them, "Can't call me bad." You can say, "You can't call me bad."
Yeah.
Who's bad now? Not me. I'm the world champ. That's what you get to say. That's absolutely incredible. So, Machamp, was there any point in that match? Honestly, I seriously felt like Machamp's hands were all over the steering wheel. You were just driving that match. Did you feel that way too?
Yeah.
You just felt in control.
Uh-huh.
Second game, when you led with Cresselia Landorus, what was your thought process on doing that instead of the Charizard?
Well, I talked with guys. Hayden, who actually won 2 years ago with Machamp, he helped me with that.
Okay, all right, cool.
We decided that we're going to lead Cressard game 1.
Okay.
And then probably switch it up to Cresslando, because I thought he'd switch.
Yeah, you thought he'd switch. I'm not sure.
Did he switch leads? No, yeah, he did. He switched from Lando to Kang.
Yes, he switched Lando to Kang.
And so it was like good either way.
Yeah, well, it was really good because you didn't even get intimidated with your Landorus. With you leading after game 1, when you got your Trick Room up, like, no problem, easy mode. Did you expect him to lead something different than he did? Did you expect him to just give you that Trick Room again?
Well, I didn't really know what way that he could stop the Trick Room. I knew, like,
maybe fake out, knock off, but then that wouldn't even take you out. Yeah, I mean, I guess
Well, Aegis Slash. I was surprised he didn't bring Aegis Slash.
yes, that's
so.
we were surprised up here that we didn't see like an Aegis slash Landorus lead and just double into that slot, or even
Well, that
Aegis
wouldn't kill though.
Yeah, it
Aegis
wouldn't
Slash,
kill.
Kang, Double Edge, and that's why I thought he was going to lead it in the first game.
Yeah.
Kang, Double Edge, Shadow Ball, but then Heat Wave would like kill that, and Trick Room would go up, and I'd win.
Well, so you were planning you were winning. You were going to this match winning.
I was kind of like uncomfortable with the matchup though.
You were.
Yeah.
But then, so last night when you were obviously disguing last night.
Well,
Hayden.
this morning actually. And
this morning.
not just Hayden, also Rafa
Okay.
and a guy with loads of cards. I can't remember his name. I think it's called Max. He had this thing where
Wizard card shout out right there. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, he had the cards for my team. Like he has the card of every. It's just a good way to like prep. It's quite good.
Yes.
And other guys.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So you had a team behind you that helped you claim this World Championship title. Is there anyone else besides people that helped you? You want to kind of give a thank you to, a shout out?
Yan Sim.
I hear yes.
Or Soga King. He said he is the one who coined the phrase "best VGC," and he helped me a lot at the start of this season.
Awesome.
And I was really sad when he decided not to come to Worlds. So he's really good, and he should have come. And you know.
Well, I'm sure he's watching.
Sad day.
I'm sure he appreciates that. And
this is for him.
this is for him.
Yeah.
You winning this World Championship is
Well, not just for him, for like all the other everyone. Like I didn't want Japan to win 3 Worlds, three in the same year. That would kind of be bad a wee bit. Like everyone would be like, everyone would like. After, if I'd lost that, you would have said, oh, people would
You're
be
the
like,
reason
oh,
why.
you can't, Japan beats everyone, you know. I didn't want that to happen.
I mean,
It'd be like,
I understand where you're coming from. So you gave your shout outs, you gave your regards. Once again, congratulations on being, for your last year in seniors, the world champion. That is absolutely awesome. And when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having our final match. And your final world champion will earn his title on that main stage. Don't go anywhere.